Yo, what's good, guys? We are doing significantly better than we were doing previously. Right now, we're averaging about $200 in cash flow per day, and I think my target is going to be about $7,000 a month. 200 a day is going to be 6,000 a month, and I think once we hit 7,000 a month, everything is going to get a lot easier for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about like my different paths to get there, because based off of the way how my numbers look, I don't really make enough money. I need to make a little bit more money for me to feel comfortable and not basically feel like I'm broke all the time, because I am essentially overspending on inventory based on the amount of cash flow I have and the amount of bills that I have. So like I mentioned a second ago, I don't know if I have the screen recording going. I do not. Let me run that real quick. Okay. So you guys should be able to see, like right here. So looking at the last 12 days or so, we have been able to average this $200 in cash flow per day. We're looking at 12 days, $2,400 in cash flow. And our ASP is up significantly. We were almost at a $29 ASP. And if you look at us, at our peak when we were doing our previous model, we were at like a 1930 ASP. So being able to push up the ASP significantly, and this isn't just, pairs that I'm buying from the thrift stores. My average profit per item at the thrift is about $21. When I went to the flea market, the average profit per item was about $36 so far for the items that I've sold. We will see what those numbers end up shaking out to be as I sell more and more of those pairs. But so far, based off the ones that have sold, it's been $36. The pairs that I am buying, that I got from the pallets, I've also readjusted the markdown strategies on those, and also readjusted some of my pricing strategy on some of those too, to ensure that I am pricing items as they should be priced rather than just pricing them so I can sell them very quickly. And due to that, a lot of those have increased their profitability as well, where items that I previously had priced at $7, $8, $9 and things like that, those items are starting to sell for $15, $20, $25, and even some, of course, going to be in your ranges of like 10, 12, 14, but those are still significantly higher than me selling those items at 5, 7, 8, 10. So that's been really good for us. We've been seeing a significant increase in our cash flow because of that. But at the same time, there's a tier above where we are currently that we need to hit for me to feel comfortable when it comes to paying my bills every single month, so on and so forth. So this is how I found out that I just don't quite make enough cash flow, even though it seems like I make a lot of money by saying, yeah, we're doing $6,000 a month in cash. So if you look at my primary bills, I have like my rent here, which is like $1,200. I have a car note, which is $415, and then I have my storage, which is $1,000. I have a store, and that store costs me $1,000 a month, and those together add up to about $2,624 in bills. That is a good bit, right? But I should still have $3,400 left over at the end to be able to buy inventory. With $3,400, you can do a killing. However, all of my bills are not rent, and car note. I have to buy groceries. I have light bills. I have like phone bills and all of these things, right? And when you add all of my other bills to the list as well, that adds an additional $1,700 to that $2,600 that I have to spend. So all in, my full bill total is about $4,300 per month. Now, if we scroll down a little bit into my chart, you'll see that if I take the $6,000 that I'm receiving per month based off of my current run rate and subtract it from my total expenses, I have the ability to purchase about 207 pairs. The way how we get that is we take the difference of what's left over, the $1,600, and we divide that by my average buy cost, which is $8.13 at the thrift store. That allows me to be able to purchase about 7 pairs per day, which means that if I'm trying to purchase 10 pairs per day, I'm going to run out of money and not be able to pay my bills. If I try to purchase, 12 or 15 or 20 pairs per day, same thing will happen. So I need to be very, very diligent about how many pairs I'm buying and how much I'm spending on those pairs. Because the higher that buy cost is, the more of that $1,687 I end up eating up. And right now, I'm not selling 100% of pairs that I bought from the thrift store and making insane profits. You know what I mean? I still have pairs that I'm buying from the pallets, and even though I've pushed up the range on those are not giving me, $29, $30 in cash flow per item. They're giving me, maybe like 15, 18, 22, somewhere in that range, depending on how much I sell the item for. But Based upon this with the 7 pairs a day, if I want to make $200 a day selling 7 shoes a day, then I need to have an average cash flow of almost $29, which isn't unreasonable. Like I told you a second ago, I have a $21 profit per item at the thrift, but I'm not selling exclusively thrift pairs. Thus, I'm not there yet. I'll be there in maybe 2 months, 3 months, but at this exact period of time, we're not quite there yet, which is the frustrating and stressful part of all of this. Number 2 would be, if I wanted to do $250 a day, listing and selling 7 items a day, then I'd need a $36 cash flow per item, basically. So that means I'd have to be selling items and getting $28 profit plus the $8 buy cost in order to all in be at a $36 cash flow, which is relatively difficult. I think my flea market pairs, like I said, they're at a $36 profit per item, which is profit, not cash flow. $36 plus the $20 buy cost is $56. So I could see a reality in the future where I'm able to blend the 2 models together and have my flea market pairs, giving me $50, $60 in cash flow per item, and then my thrift pairs giving me, $28 to $30 in cash flow per item. And then when those two models are blended together, I could be hovering somewhere in the high 30s, maybe even into the 40s, depending on how many pairs I'm getting from the flea market and how many pairs I'm getting from the thrift store. But even still, I need to do something in the meantime, because I have bills that will be coming up at the end of October. I have bills that will be coming up at the end of November. You know what I mean? I have to get this cash flow number up higher for me to be able to do the things that I need to do. And the downside is, to reasonably get this amount of cash flow per item, a lot of the times I end up having to pay more per pair. So if it's not $8 on average and it ends up pushing up into $10, $12, or like I was at the flea market, $20 per pair, at $20 per pair, I can only afford 3 pairs per day. And the necessary cash, if you have 3 pairs per day, is like $71, $89. $71 to $89 between $200 to $250. And I just think that's a very, very difficult thing for me to pull off. So I'm going to need to be a bit more creative when it comes to how I'm getting my inventory, to see if I can get high quality inventory at lower costs. So I think my mission for today, after I finish making this video and doing a lot of this stuff, is go do a little bit of exploring and see, hey, can I find shoes at a $4 buy cost? Can I find shoes at a $2 buy cost? And then can I find quality shoes at those buy costs so that I'll be able to put up more pairs per day on average that are still hitting my same general margins? Because having to pay $8 per pair with the way, or go get a job. You could go get a job and have $1,000 extra per month that way, and then use that $1,000 to set you up. So those are kind of my 2 paths that I can take. Path 1 is going to be I reduce my expenses, but all of the expenses that I have on my list are expenses that are necessary, I guess, excluding my store. I could get rid of my store, trade it out for a storage unit. There's none available right now, but I'd go from spending $1,000 for 1,000 square feet to spending, and it's not 1,000 usable square feet. The way my store's set up, they have walls and stuff, so it's more like 600, 700 square feet, to paying $400 to $500 for 300 square feet. And my current store will fit in 300 square feet, but in, 1 month, 2 months, as my store gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I'd have to add an additional one. And I just feel like I'd be in the same position that I'm in currently. So I don't love the idea of trading out my store right now, just based on, I built a relationship with my landlord. He's a great dude. If I want to do inventory inside of my store, I could do that as well. I can turn it into an actual brick and mortar. I just have a lot more flexibility due to having a physical store, and it gives me enough space to be able to grow significantly larger than where I'm at now. Because in my store, I can house probably 5,000-6,000 pairs at minimum, just due to the walls, and I could probably store more than that depending on how I do the layout, or I can change my inventory system to put up even more pairs in that same spot. Because right now all of my inventory is in bins, and also some of my inventory is in my house too. So if I were to have 6,000 pairs at my store and then put 1,000 pairs or something in my house, then I could have an even larger inventory space without having to spend more on space. But you compare that to my storage unit, I just wouldn't have the same flexibility, and the rent would be going up over and over and over again, which can be a bit intense. You know what I mean? So I think, like I said, I think my big thing is going to be if I can get a lower buy cost on some of my pairs. Like if I had a $4 buy cost, I could buy 421 items a month, which is enough to do over 10 a day, probably closer to like 15 a day. And if I had a $2 buy cost, I could get 800 pairs a month. But here's the problem. When I get a $2 or $4 buy cost, one, I have a higher tendency of picking up stuff that sucks. So I need to be very, very careful with that. And then number two is that things that are lower priced in general tend to be worse. In general, there are exceptions to this rule. There are places you can go to where you get shoes for $2 and they're absolutely amazing, but like the bins maybe depending on where you live. But in general, I've found that lower buy cost tends to equal lower quality as a whole, but that does not mean that you can't pull gems out of it. So what I'm gonna look to do is see if I can tap into other inventory sources, so that I can have the ability to put up more. You know what? I might not do that because I found out today that I have an entire closet full of clothing, like literally full of clothing and other items like clothing, purses, hats, so on and so forth. So what I might do is just list a bunch of that stuff, continue doing what we're doing on the shoe side, list the 7 pairs a day, list all that stuff for my extra cash flow, and then end up with the $1,000 that I'm looking for because I only need $30 a day. So 3 sales at $10 profit. $10 in cash flow per sale, minimum, and I'll be where I need to be. So if I can do that, I think that solves all my issues. Just having the extra $1,000 that way, and that's what I'm thinking. I forgot that I discovered that today until I started making this video. So I might just do that. But at the same time, I do think it would be valuable for me to explore more and see, are there places I can go to that have excellent shoes but at a lower buy cost so that I can stretch my money a little bit further as I'm trying to scale up to this $7,000 a month. Right now, it's just a little bit difficult and it's stressing me out for sure to not quite be where I want to be. But I see the progress. I know that if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get better and better results. I just need to not F it up between now and then. You know what I mean? Because I've been here before. I've been in this position before. And a lot of the times I end up making bad decisions once I get here where I'm like, dang, I have bills to pay. But, we're doing relatively well with this. But I've never done this well before. I've never had a very high profit per item. I've never had the confidence to know that I can actually sell items for a significant amount of money. And I hope that this additional confidence can allow me to go outside and continue doing what we're doing. And maybe that be on the weekends we go hit not flea markets, we go hit garage sales and see if we can get really quality shoes at a lower price there. I think there's a lot of different ways for me to get it. I just need to increase the hustle factor and decrease the, oh man, I don't have X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way for me to do it. I can pull this off. I can make the extra $1,000 a month. I just have to be more than willing to do it. And it's only $33 a day. So $33 a day is an extra 3 listings. And I have a couple of strategies right now that I'm not going to talk about in too much detail because I don't want to make another repeat of like one of my first videos where I was saying, hey, in 9 weeks, I think I can do $5,200 a week in sales. And then now it's several months later and I'm not at $5,200 a week in sales. I'm significantly lower than that. So if I really want to try to only talk about things that I'm currently doing or actively doing or things that have already been done so that I don't end up in a position where I'm giving you guys bull crap and like I don't end up following through with that. So from what I'm seeing, I think I'm gonna go through the stuff that I have upstairs, see if I can actually make money on that stuff. I didn't look at it in detail, so I don't know what it actually is. And then I can report back on that. And then number 2, go see if I can find other sources of inventory so that I can lower my buy costs a little bit more, maybe drop it to $6 and get more access to pairs, get 9 pairs, 10 pairs per day. That way they don't have to be as high of a standard for me to hit what my goals are. Because, hitting 28 every single time is tough. You know what I mean? You can do it. There are people who do it. I know many people that do it, but like that's hardcore. That's high level stuff. And I'm just now getting into this game of being higher profit, lower volume. And I need to figure out a way to appropriately balance being higher profit with making sure I can be able to pay my bills as well. So hopefully this was valuable to you guys. Hopefully provide some value to you. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace.